Hey guys, Anthony here, living with MS and moving forward. I know I said I was going to do an update the next day, but I have been in and out of doctor's offices and hospitals and getting infusions after infusions. I have ended up with a exasperation. It's not the worst one I've ever had, but it's not the best one, and going from where I was at in a bad position to a weaker state, well, I don't know how you get weaker than a limp noodle, but that's kind of what ended up happening. So they went and had me do an MRI before I started getting some Solumedrol, and I've been bouncing from one end of the hospital to another end of the hospital, getting my Solumedrol treatments. I've now had 2 of them, of the 5, and I am feeling a little bit stronger and a little bit better, as those of you that have had Solumedrol know. Sometimes it's a quick fix, sometimes it takes all 5, and I had been really getting weak over the last several months, not having the Tysabri or any treatment for the MS that you normally would get for over 5 months. I certainly was feeling the effects of that, and then on top of that, starting the new one, getting a half dose of the Ocrevus, and then the second half dose of the Ocrevus, and I have not had any negative reactions. I also haven't had any big positive things I can say about it, because everybody tells me you don't notice it right away. So we will see how that works. Still, I have, the jury's still out on that one as far as I'm concerned. But as you can see, I am back in my recliner. I've been out running. This morning I had to go, and I drove my wife. For some reason I knew I needed to drive my wife to work. And it's a good thing that I did, because we're loaning our car to our son and daughter-in-law, because they need an extra car, because one of their cars is out of commission. But the things you do for your children because you love them. But then I had to go up to the hospital after I dropped her off, I had to go home and get things that had to be shipped ready. And that took forever to do, because the computer was not cooperating with labels, or labels were not cooperating, or whatever the situation was. I finally figured out a way to go and make it work, and got everything ready to go and package up and ship, and took everything to the post office. And while I was there, I ended up also picking up 4 huge boxes that I didn't have the energy to try to bring in right now. I'll bring them in later on. Actually, my power chairs I was coming into the house with, just my drink and me, died because the battery, and I'm driving in my chair that's about 10 years old, because my new chair has not functioned correctly since last year, and they have been repairing it and repairing it and repairing it, and they still have not got it right. I am not a fan of Jazzy. I think Jazzy should be called Junkie. It's just my personal opinion. Some people like him, some people love him. Doesn't go anywhere near as fast as my Invacare does, but the Invacares are not covered by most insurances anymore because there were issues that the FDA was having with them, because they famously will stop on a dime, and they will sometimes stop on a dime while you're going. And because it shuts off, and I've had that happen once or twice. And it will go, and if you're not careful, it will knock you out. They've had people that have been knocked out, several people apparently, and end up on the ground. And often most of us, if we need a wheelchair, it's kind of hard to get up off the ground. I am a good example of that. Since my last video, I was sitting on the bed, getting my wife to help put my socks and shoes on, and I was not quite on the bed, and I slipped and fell to the floor. We called somebody to come and help us, knowing that that one person was not going to do it because I am not a small boy. Even though I had lost about 50-some pounds, I was told to stop what I was doing because it was making my blood sugars go through the roof. And I don't have high blood sugar. I have perfect 99% of the time. But, bottom line is that they went and came to the determination that we need to do what Anthony always does and call the fire department. They are some big boys. And one of them that comes out here on a semi-regular basis, who at one time was one of my youth, when I was a youth pastor, he shows up, and between him and my son, they were able to get me to my feet, so that I could at least stand up and waddle back to the bed into a safe position that I wasn't going to fall again. And that's what I needed to do. And sit there and rest for a few minutes, because even though I was on the ground for about 20 minutes waiting on everybody to go and get there to help deal with the issue, but because of all that, and they had decided and determined that I was definitely having an exasperation. They sent me to go get an MRI. It's the first MRI that I've had of my spine in probably 10 years. Everything's been in my head. But my neurologist thinks that I have a new lesion on my spine, or a lesion that he hasn't seen because they haven't been doing spinal pictures in the last several years. And that's the one that's causing my leg to go and have the, they're worse than quakes, they're worse than spasms. It's literally a jerk and contraction the chair that I'm sitting in, I have actually ended up having it happen, and my legs, even though I have MS and I don't have control, are amazingly strong because, one, I was at one time an athlete several hundred pounds ago, way before MS and before I got married, and before I gained all the weight and all that stuff. But they're still strong. The muscle never really went away because I actually gained a lot of weight and I had to carry that weight. So I was carrying 600 pounds around that I had blown up to 625. And I could, at 625, I could still keep up and run with teenagers back then. And did on a regular basis. But then MS. But my legs are so strong that I would go and have this contraction, and it would jerk me off of the recliner onto the floor. And I would have a conversation with my wife the day after or something like that about it, because she's got enough stress on her that dealing with my health and my struggles, and she's watched the exasperation that I was currently in, or I am currently in, and it's just killing her. And then she's got other issues with other family members that are having health issues, and I love my wife a lot, but everybody brings everything to her and texts her with everything and calls her about everything because, you know, she's a nurse and she knows all kinds of stuff, and what she doesn't know, she knows how to go and get an answer for it, and you know, just, and the fact that we are prayer-believing followers of Jesus Christ, and God goes and, in their opinion, pays attention to us. He does. Sometimes the answer's no. Sometimes the answer's not one you want to hear, and stuff, but he listens to you too. It's not just us. Difference is that sometimes he's going to answer you and you're going to ignore the answer because it's not what you want to hear, or it's not what you want to see. But, so, yeah, I'm getting 5 days of Solumedrol right now. I just came back from day 2. And I am feeling a little bit stronger. I am feeling a little bit better. But I'm still not where I want to be, or back to where I was before the exasperation started. But between that and having 2 power chairs that won't stay charged more than about 45 minutes of actual drive time, I can barely go to the post office and then to the doctor's office and then make it back up my driveway out of my van. And it's getting kind of annoying, but it is what it is until they fix the one or replace the one or whatever they gotta do. And I'm looking forward to that. But, you know, it's a situation that we take it one day at a time. and trusting that the Lord Jesus Christ has it, because in the good things I praise Him, and in the bad things I praise Him. Because I have discovered that even in the bad things, Jesus has done things that just blow my mind. One of those things is, the day after I finally decided I was going to take my disability, I did everything I could not to take it. Not because it was going to cut my paycheck. It's because, well, when I'm a man and men don't like to do nothing, they would like to do something and feel like they're earning their keep. And so I stayed working probably about 3 to 4 months longer than I should have. And the day I decided I was going to take my disability, and I was fortunate because I had disability insurance with long-term coverage. But also, I qualified for the Social Security disability too. But turned out that the day after, I got a call from a guy that I knew from the years that I did real estate and mortgage stuff. And he invited me to lunch, and he says, "Why don't you come to prison with me?" He says, "We're starting a new prison ministry, and we need some more people that are clergy." And him knowing that I was clergy, and that I had done prison ministry in the past, he figured he could count on me. But he was afraid that it would be a situation I'd say, "Well, I don't know if I can take off the time to do it from work." But what he didn't know was that I no longer was having to work. So it was God's perfect timing. But what's the neatest thing is that I go rolling in there the first time in a wheelchair, and we go in with 45 of our people to meet with 45 of theirs. And these guys that go in with me are from all walks of life. Some of them are, former people who've done stupid things, to lawyers, to, I even go in with a judge that's part of the team, and district attorneys and public defenders. It's crazy some of the people that go in, because they go in and nobody recognizes them. But these guys, the men that are clergy besides me, are probably 30 years my elder. And they're very wise, they're very scholarly, unlike me. And they are scared, these guys that have done things that would get them put into a prison that they will be in for the rest of their life. They've done things that have been horrible. They're scared of these little old men. But they will come talk to me because I'm in a wheelchair, and they think that they can go and pull one over on me. The catch is I'm probably the strongest one, because my ministry, even though I am an ordained pastor, evangelism is my strong suit and my forte. It's what I've done since I gave my life to Christ, I ended up doing evangelism. And I've done evangelism in some of the worst places in the world. Places like Haiti, places like New York City, places like Los Angeles, places like Guam, and all along I'm sitting here thinking, I can be quiet, I can listen, and then I can go and pour out some love and truth on these guys. And these guys listen to me, they respond to me, and more importantly, they respond to Jesus Christ. Because here's this guy in a wheelchair, and he's talking about grace, he's talking about hope, he's talking about love. And they all know that I'm in terrible pain. They all know that I'm crippled and I will probably be in a wheelchair most of my life, if not all of my life. But I still see the hope. I still see the love. I still see the grace. And because of that, it makes an impact on their life. And they respond to what Jesus is saying. I may be just the hand trowel that he uses in the garden, but it's him that does the work. But moving forward, got 3 more days of the sodium medrol, and hopefully I will see some real rapid improvement, or at least a little bit of rapid improvement from what I've had, and just keep going from there. But even still, even without having that rapid improvement, I'm still going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to stop. If I end up bedridden, I'll find a way to go and talk to people about Jesus Christ, and share the love that he has for them, and that because he has it, I have it for them. I'm drawn to people that are probably ones that most people would stay away from because they're not good people and they've done really bad things. Well, before Jesus Christ, I did really bad things. But the one thing that I learned, Jesus sowed a verse into my life, and it's Romans 5:8. And it says, "For while we were yet sinners, Christ came and died for us." I like the New Anthony translation, the one that he wrote on my heart. That while I was still a filthy, disgusting pig, unworthy to be spit upon, he came and died for my sin. He died for yours too. So guys, I'm Anthony, I have MS, and I am going to move forward.